Nigeria to push for more business reform agenda to create enabling environment for foreign and domestic investments, VP Osinbajo emphasizes. Naira redesign, EFCC boss says a decision critical for eliminating corruption and stabilizing the economy.
The Nigeria Police, working in collaboration with all other security agencies, including the military, have resolved to abstain the deployment of security teams to all INEC assets.
Security agencies begin strategic engagements for violence-free process ahead of 2023 elections. Plus, Nollywood gets another nod for industry growth from the federal government. Hello and welcome to NTA Network News. I'm Cyril Stober in Abuja. Michael Olale joins me from Lagos. And just reminding you that you can follow this broadcast live on our website nta.ng/live and all our social media platforms displayed on the screen. The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Abdulrashid Bawa, has described the recent policy decision to redesign the nation's currency as not only significant but a critical pathway towards eliminating corruption as well as achieving sanity and stability in the economy. This was while addressing journalists after briefing President Muhammadu Buhari on the activities of the anti-graft agency. State House correspondent Adam Sambu has the details.
The meeting between President Muhammadu Buhari and the EFCC chairman that lasted about 30 minutes was held behind closed doors. Abdulrashid Bawa was, however, not forthcoming when confronted by journalists as to what was either discussed or instructions received. President Buhari, he however said, has been very supportive.
It is not all about political will, but political action, and he has exhibited, both in what we are doing. And of course, this issue of Naira redesign that he came up with is helping us tremendously to sanitize the entire system of this holding and money laundering that is taking place, with cash, all around the country. We are happy with this Naira redesign in the sense that it will give central bank an opportunity of, going back to square one. By the time they collect all these monies back to their system, then they are going to control the money that they are going to release to the system. And then, of course, once the monies are back within the financial institution, it will help to further boost, economic activities in the sense that there will be more money for people to borrow. You understand? And then we, on our own part, we will have the avenue of monitoring what are we doing with all these huge resources that are out there before that are now within the financial, institution. So it is a good thing for all of us.
He said the prevailing situation where 85% of the nation's currency is out of circulation, and indeed the banking system is not only unhealthy but counterproductive as people are engaged in some illegitimate transactions that create avenues for various crimes, including banditry, kidnapping for ransom, and the phenomenon of money politics.
We will continue to call on Nigerians that the whistleblower policy is still on and running. And for information that, of course, Nigerians will come forth with, they stand the chance of, getting up to 5% of what we will successfully recover that illegitimately earned. We have to work together and ensure that, look, we rid our country of this crime that is, tarnishing the image of our country. And of course, we are here when we came here and the president launched our standard operation procedure. That is what is guiding us, going forward in the EFCC. And we are very proud of the achievement that we have made thus far.
Abdulrashid Bawa also used the opportunity to put the record straight on what he called the sting operation recently carried out by operatives of the EFCC in Bureau de Change offices in parts of the country.
We got an intel that says that there is this, and then we went for it, and then we realized that yes, there are a lot of speculators out there, there are a lot of funds that are illegitimately traced to them, and then of course we have to do what we have to do. Of course, recoveries were made, and recoveries will continue to be made. I don't want to mention figures in terms of the amount, but it is huge. From what we are seeing these days, the dollar is up at 90 and then it is down 690. What happened? Is it that we have all of a sudden within 10 days carried out some, certain, miraculous economic activities to warrant, the creation of the USD, and then we just realize that it's just about speculation. Majority of these, transactions on USD that is happening, on the streets and among individuals are not for any economic reality. They are just using it as a means to store value. And we believe with this issue of Naira redesign and with the good government policies that is being pushed, dollar is going to crash to 200 Naira, God willing.
And as skillful political maneuvering continues ahead of the next general elections, the EFCC chairman advised political actors to desist from using illegitimate funds in seeking for votes. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the federal government will continue to push its business reform agenda, for which the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council was established, so as to create an enabling environment for more investments in the country, including from Nigerians in the diaspora. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
Receiving the delegation led by Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, and the Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Lucky Orimisan Ayedatiwa, who is presently acting as the Governor of the state. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo notes that the contributions of Nigerians in the diaspora to the economy are huge, especially with the remittances sent into the country.
Now obvious that there are incredible opportunities that can be taken advantage of by a lot of folks in that stock. And they can see the advantage, they can recognize the advantage. So the best left is to create the environment for and ensure that it's easy for to invest.
And the Vice President stresses the seriousness with which the administration is taking the ease of doing business initiative.
Thank you and commend your efforts. Your support, progressive support, and for governors in general in Nigeria as Vice President, particularly for all the MPAs under the supervision.
Passion and interest to invest in Nigeria. We like to see that Dr. Duwali was spoke to us yesterday on the ways of doing business, and I must say the point that he has improved tremendously under your leadership. And we hope that it continues to improve.
Nigeria is Wakanda, right? It is exactly what we hoped it would be. And I imagine that if we can get the formula right, we will get not only increased investment from the diaspora, but there will probably be a lot of diaspora members who will move back home to Nigeria. I think many people are longing to come back.
The delegation presented this work of art to the Vice President as a recognition of his contribution to the Diaspora Commission. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
In the meantime, Vice President Osinbajo has offered his support for the initiative to build a seaport in Ondo State, noting that he is all for it and something that ought to get done. Vice President Osinbajo said this when he received the acting governor of Ondo State, Lucky Orimisan Ayedatiwa. He was part of a delegation from the ongoing Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit received by the Vice President. Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu had been promoting the vision of the state government on the development of a deep sea port in Ilaje area of Ondo, advocating the adoption of public-private partnership involving the federal government in order to realize the vision. While assuring the state of the willingness of the Buhari administration regarding the project, the Vice President added the need for follow-up to get through the things needed. The acting governor in his remarks had sought the support of Professor Osinbajo in securing the approval of the Federal Executive Council regarding the Ondo Deep Seaport project. He also mentioned that Ondo was being showcased at the Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit as an investment destination and called on investors, especially Nigerians in the diaspora, to come to Ondo State. As at October 2022, the total number of pensioners on the payroll of the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, PTAD, is 226,328, with a monthly pension payment of more than 9 billion naira. This was made known by the Executive Secretary of PTAD, Chioma Nena Ejikeme, while featuring at the 58th edition of the executive briefing of the press at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. State House correspondent Jide Unifade reports.
Twice, I remember, it's a 3% pension increase. We carried the backlog into Muhammad Buhari's regime. But that has been paid long ago.
One of the core mandates of the Pensions Transitional Arrangement Directorate, PTAD, is seen to the welfare of all pensioners. From January of 2015 to December of 2021, PTAD has paid a total of 610 billion naira in monthly pensions, and this is as explained by the Executive Secretary of the Directorate, Chioma Nena Ejikeme.
PTAD has strategically and intentionally reformed and revolutionized pension administration using technology. Through verification, we've been able to create a centralized database, which is complete with pensioners' personal information, biometrics, and career documents. This database is the first of its kind.
The Directorate, as she says, is now able to promptly attend to complaints and even made some recoveries and contributing significantly to the national economy.
We just last month completed the arrears of 100 months that we inherited for Nikon Insurance, for 1,046 of them. We have also last month completed the 96 months inherited from Delta Steel Company. Now we only have Nitel MTEL as a defunct agency that we have not completed the inherited arrears.
Speaking on what's next, she says, with the introduction of I Am Alive Confirmation Solution platform, which is still on trial phase, pensioners can now confirm their aliveness from the comfort of their homes using a smartphone or a computer. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NT News.
Nigeria and France have held strategic discussions to enhance bilateral cooperation and security, infrastructural development, and putting in place mechanisms to ease irregular migration. Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyama reaffirmed Nigeria's position on several issues when he received French parliamentarians at the ministry in Abuja. Garba Nata'ala reports.
3 French senators were on official tour to Nigeria with the French ambassador to Nigeria, Emmanuel Blackman, as their spokesperson aimed at promoting legislative and global diplomatic relations. Discussion with the Minister of Foreign Affairs focused on a series of issues facing the country, particularly in safeguarding the waterways of the Gulf of Guinea region to improve global trade and investment.
There's a G5, Group 5 of Sahelian countries. They're all French-speaking countries. And of course, we have the Multinational Joint Task Force. So I think the France and Nigeria, we have a real interest in coming together and working more closely together and in fighting terrorism.
The minister prioritized good governance as critical for positive outcomes to achieve mutually beneficial areas for both countries.
And as we know now, it's a big issue in Europe, irregular migration. There are large numbers of Nigerians also who are involved in irregular migration, and it comes with a lot of criminality, human trafficking, and so forth. So we also have to work. We're working closely with the European Union, and I think France also has an important role to play in that.
The French senators recalled the existing bilateral ties between France and Nigeria, stating efforts made by the EU countries to help developing countries cope with the current increasing cost of food prices as a result of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. All parties have expressed readiness to explore more opportunities for a better bilateral cooperation. In Abuja, Garba Muhammad Natala, NTA News.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration of Ghana has retracted the travel advisory it earlier issued on the security situation in Abuja. The Ghanaian government had advised its citizens against non-essential travel to Abuja due to insecurity rumors on Nigeria's capital city. However, in a swift reaction, the country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration retracted, saying it is not aware of any security threat targeted at Ghanaians who continue to live in harmony with their Nigerian brothers and sisters. The ministry expresses regrets at the earlier advisory. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has assured members of the Nollywood industry of government's continued support to grow the industry. The minister stated this at a day set aside for members of the industry to interface with delegates of the UNWTO Global Conference in Lagos. Anthony Forson reports.
Back to back from the pioneer producer of Nollywood movies, they chronicled the history of the industry, recounting the journey so far.
All of us were whiling away our time doing nothing. Some of us also who believed in the industry and waited for it decided that there must be something. It's either we keep waiting and hoping someday when a Messiah will come to change our lives, or change the industry for us, or waiting for God to just do a miracle and something will happen so that we can be employed.
An elated delegate headed by the Secretary General of the United Nations World Tourism Organization gave Nollywood a pat on the back with these reassuring words.
To have a roadmap how to use cinema, this creative industry, these creative people, again, the same, to show African culture, to export African culture, and the movie and cinema is the best ambassador and instrument for it. Movie and gastronomy and cinema are the big part of culture today, and let's use it.
For Lai Mohammed, it is work in progress. Going forward, he said,
it shows the resourcefulness, the ingenuity of Nigerians, and that's why anywhere I am, I'm proud to be a Nigerian. You simply can't beat us. So we will continue as a government to try our best to help the industry. But make no mistake about it, anywhere in the world, the creative industry is always one step ahead of government.
A Day with Nollywood is part of the programs lined up for the United Nations World Tourism Organization's maiden global conference on linking tourism, culture and the creative industries, pathways to recovery and inclusive development. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Well, delegates to the UNWTO Global Conference were treated to a gala night and command performance. Here again is Anthony Forson.
After a brainstorming session, the delegates settled for a special command performance spiced with music. Awards were given to outstanding performance in the tourism, culture and creative industry.
Very much happy for our Argungu International Fishing and Cultural Festival to go to this higher stage of the highest recognition from the World Tourism Organization.
It's an acknowledgement that our cultural festival is well appreciated in Nigeria and beyond Nigeria.
For Information and Culture Minister and the Secretary General of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, it couldn't have been better than this, being the maiden edition.
I also want to thank all our experts who took part in our workshops and everybody who in one way or the other has contributed in making our first ever global conference on tourism, culture and creative industry a success.
To all Nigerian families, first of all, peace, prosperity, health, wealth, all the best. And again, to thank their host, their minister, their big brother for all of us, and to all Nigerian hosts to make this wonderful evening. And you took really in Nigerian wedding, I would say. It's really amazing, and to show us the best of your country, the best of the culture of your country.
In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Time for a break. More reports just ahead. A political pressure group known as Grace Mission has been inaugurated to ensure that only credible candidates are voted into elected positions nationwide. Isoko-born business mogul Daniel Omoibo, while inaugurating the commission at Ole, headquarters of Isoko South local government area of Delta State, said the move was driven by the desire to contribute his quota towards engendering genuine democratic practice in the country.
At Ole, headquarters of Isoko South local government area of Delta State, popular billionaire businessman and philanthropist Dr. Daniel Omoibo recently inaugurated the Grace Mission, whose goal is to enthrone good governance in Isoko Nation, Delta State and Nigeria at large come 2023. Henceforth, members of the group will sink their political differences, shun unpopular and ineligible candidates fielded by their various political parties, and shop for credible candidates who they can trust with their vote. While inaugurating the Grace Mission, Dr. Omoibo declared support for 5 candidates on the platform of the PDP and SDP.
My team, Atiku Okowa for president, Sheriff Oborori for governor, and Jele for senate. These 3 positions, they are contesting under PDP platform. While the House of Rep, I'm supporting Dixon Ebegbare for House of Rep under the platform of SDP.
A major task before members of the Grace Mission is to sensitize voters on the need to reject all forms of political injustice.
This time around, the House of Representatives must come to the Isoko South.
Isoko is the highest onshore producer of oil. So we make laws that would benefit them.
Grace Mission also appointed canvassers who are mandated to get to the grassroots to mobilize support for candidates who can make governance relevant to the needs of the people, regardless of their parties. In a bid to make life comfortable for the people, Grace Mission have provided economic empowerment for over 600 persons who were issued checks of various sums to engage in business startups.
The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has promised to strengthen the nation's economic base through transformation from a consuming to a producing nation. This was at the Southeast Town Hall meeting with members of the private sector and trade unions held in Owerri, the Imo State capital. Beatrice Ayam has details.
The Southeast Town Hall meeting with the private sector and trade unions convened by the APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Owerri, Imo State, is to present his manifesto to the groups. The APC presidential candidate says if elected, his government will drive potentials in the country to productivity. He calls on the people to support his candidacy to achieve prosperity and renewed hope.
We will drive Nigeria potential to reality of delivery of progressive path, of industrialization, progress, manufacturing, industrialization, and electricity.
The Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma expresses confidence that the emergence of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president will entrench good governance and economic advancement.
What the issues and problems are in Nigeria. The president who is ready to go. We see what it means. It means for our people to write the letters. Let's confidence. And that's the indicators. We want to guarantee and assurances that the preventive policies will see candidates happening the growth of dollar and
the APC National Chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, Director General, APC Campaign Council, and Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong, among others, in their goodwill messages, say the presidential candidate will replicate the development strides as he did in Lagos State if elected as president. In Owerri, Beatrice Anyam, NTA News.
And as the 2023 race hots up, the Nigeria Police Force and other security agencies are prepared to identify, apprehend and bring any political actor and their foot soldiers engaging in violence at political rallies to justice. Inspector General of Police Usman Alkali Baba stated this at a meeting with representatives of the 18 political parties at the force headquarters, Abuja.
It is a meeting between the Nigeria Police Force, other security agencies, and representatives of the 18 political parties. Since the official commencement of campaigns for the 2023 general elections on the 28th September 2022, about 52 cases of politically motivated intra- and inter-party violence has been recorded across 22 states of the Federation.
We have been receiving reports of some state governors who encourage political talk and subnational security outfits under their control.
Worried by this development, the IGP convened this meeting with the aim of engaging political parties' leadership on the new trends of political violence and present a common front in addressing it in the overriding interest of national security and democracy.
The Nigeria Police, working in collaboration with all other security agencies, including the military, have resolved to 1. Enhance intelligence gathering, sharing and utilization of same to stand up to political violence. 2. Upscale the deployment of security teams to all INEC assets and facilities nationwide. 3. Take decisive local action against purveyors of hate speech, incitement to violence, mobilization of tax and other violations, including the prompt arrest, investigation and prosecution of offenders in line with the provisions of Section 92 and 93 of the Electoral Act as amended.
Francis from NTA News.
And troops have recovered INEC biodata capturing machines, arms and military uniforms from hideouts of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and the Eastern Security Network in Amangu, Ohafia local government area of Abia State. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports that this was announced at the Defense Media Operations Briefing in Abuja.
It's another defense media operations briefing, and top is the rescue of 66 kidnapped victims, mostly from the northern region, and the recovery of INEC facilities from IPOB Den in Abia State.
Troop raided another indigenous people of Biafra and Eastern Security Network hideout at Amagun local government area. During the firefight, troops neutralized 2 criminals while others fled. Following the operations, 3 AK-47 rifle, 4 pump-action guns, 2 locally made pistol, 2 pairs of camouflage uniform, 2 camouflage jungle hats, 1 INEC image capturing machine and 1 INEC box, and 2 motorcycles among other items.
29 criminal syndicates sabotaging the nation's oil resources in the Niger Delta region apprehended, while 44 illegal refining sites deactivated by troops of Operation Delta Safe.
The air component conducted air interdiction operation at Aba Cheke on an identified illegal refining site where significant human activities were confirmed. Consequently, the target was engaged and destroyed.
On the movement of armored personnel carrier in the Federal Capital Territory, the Director of Defense Media Operations stressed that the platforms are on routine patrol. From the Defense Headquarters in Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
It's time to go over to Michael in our Lagos Center for more reports. Michael?
Thank you, Cyril. The days when the 14 contractors and even government agencies walk away with huge debt to the federal government while still benefiting from government largesse is almost over. This confidence flows from the urgency on the part of the federal government to enlist the support of all revenue sourcing agencies for effective implementation of a new digital trump card in debt recovery, Project Lighthouse. Adenita will report that a zonal sensitization workshop to get needed buy-in has been organized by the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning in Lagos.
In the bid to ensure economic expansion by shoring up its revenue base, the federal government has been loud about its desire to increase its earnings from non-oil sector. while efforts to widen the tax net through voluntary asset and income declaration scheme is ongoing, the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning is also intentional about plugging revenue loopholes and recovering huge debts due to the federal government.
They are only tax, some in hundreds of millions, some in thousands, some close to billions. But they are being contracted with the federal government and they are being paid.
This zonal workshop, organized by the ministry, recognizes the need to facilitate the handshake across the table among agencies in the value chain of debt recovery through effective implementation of Project Lighthouse, designed to identify defaulting MDAs and contractors for the purpose of supplying their details to aid recovery.
Lighthouse is a technology infrastructure that helps the ministry, identify, potential revenue loopholes in government, through leveraging big data technology. So what we did with GiveMess is actually connect to our database, which allows them to, in real time, see who is owing.
So far, implementation of the system in just 10 revenue sourcing agencies has identified about 5,000 defaulters who are owing the federal government to the tune of about $2.6 billion, out of which about 56 billion naira has been recovered. This number is expected to grow with anticipated surge in information sharing among agencies who are also expected to assist government in achieving fiscal responsibility.
My organization too will try as much as possible to make sure we enforce some of the things we are learning here now.
If we can recover the debt that is outright, that people are owing the government will have money to spend.
Efforts are ongoing to ensure that every contractor and agency comes on board Project Lighthouse before they can transact business. In Lagos, Adeni Itaiwo, NTA News.
Stakeholders in the aquaculture sector in Nigeria are meeting to develop policies and programs for a sustainable fishing production in the country. Ruth Aria Samuel reports that the meeting is also reviewing the 30-year-old Sea Fishery Act of 1992.
1992 Fisheries Act makes provision for the control, regulation, and protection of sea fisheries in the territorial waters of Nigeria. This meeting therefore seeks to review issues of illegal fishing, environmental pollution, fines, vessel monitoring, the blue economy, and other issues to increase domestic feed production in Nigeria.
The fisheries sector is very strategic to Nigeria because of the increasing demand for fish production and consumption, and its contribution to employment and poverty reduction.
Issues to be deliberated upon will provide positive outcome that will strengthen the Sea Fisheries Act.
Experts in this sector are optimistic that this act, when reviewed, will enhance aquaculture.
If by God's grace is passed by the National Assembly after the FEC review or submission to National Assembly, it will be a very good thing for Nigeria. So the Fisheries Act is key.
We are aware that government understands the importance of the fishing subsector as one of the federal government non-oil revenue generating units, and would like to guide it jealously.
We will try as much as possible to put in our best to making sure that we reduce the deficit and increase domestic feed production.
Deliberations of this meeting, when concluded, will be pushed to the National Assembly as an executive bill for ratification and harmonization. In Lagos, Ruth Ario Samuel, NTA News.
Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen for updates. Time for some messages. The news continues shortly. Please stay.
We're back in Abuja. The federal government, through the National Bureau of Statistics and other development partners, has launched the 2022 Multidimensional Poverty Index Survey to assess poverty levels in the country with the aim of alleviating it. President Buhari, who was represented by his Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, says it is in line with the plan of government to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in order to meet the Sustainable Development Goals. Muplang Dako reports.
Latest statistics reveal that 63% of Nigerians are multidimensionally poor.
65% of the poor live in the north, while 35% live in the south. Multidimensional poverty is higher in rural areas, where 72% of people are poor. 2/3 of children are multidimensionally poor, and half of all poor people are children. These and more make up the 2022 Multidimensional Poverty Index report released by the National Bureau of Statistics.
It's a powerful tool to galvanize the kind of action that will push us forward to achieving the presidential mandate of lifting 100 million out of poverty within the next decade. We're one of the first countries in Africa to conduct this exercise as a standalone survey with this level of disaggregation.
Speakers harped on the need to utilize the rich data from the new poverty index to tackle gender inequality, sanitation, health, and education in rural areas and at the state levels in order to address extreme poverty.
We all need to the design and implementation of policies and programs that will positively impact on the life of Nigeria.
The survey, which sampled more than 56,000 households across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT, was conducted between November 2021 and February 2022 in Abuja, Muplang, Dakok. NTA News.
Nigeria will need to rationalize expenditure and accelerate growth in revenues to mitigate the impact of rising cost of debt service. Director General Debt Management Office, Patience Uniha, made this known at a session with the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debts and the House Committee on Aid, Loans and Debt Management. Leah Katumba Batunde reports.
Nigeria's debt has grown consistently over the past decade and even faster in recent years. Debt sustainability is being threatened due to the fact that the bulk of Nigeria's revenue comes from oil, coupled with dependence on borrowing.
It is an aberration that while external borrowing has been on increase since 2015, the living conditions, key macroeconomic fundamentals in the country have deteriorated. Yet, borrowing improperly channeled is supposed to enhance infrastructure, stimulate job creation, and boost the overall growth of the economy.
I'm sure our members are always increasing their knowledge after each workshop, and thereby making our job easier as committee members scheduled with the responsibility of supervising the debt management office.
Total debt stock as of June 2022 stood at 42.8 trillion naira, and the Debt Management Office DMO says borrowings should be tied to projects, and some projects should generate commensurate revenues to service loans used to finance them.
We need them to understand the issues and be able to make informed recommendations at plenary, because once the National Assembly approves it, really, it's a done deal.
The understanding between the DMO and members of the legislature is that priority should be less on borrowing and more on revenues, as both local and international lenders are tightening and raising interest rates. In Abuja, Leah Katumba Batunde, NTA News.
Time to bring in Benny with business news. Benny?
Thank you and welcome to Business. Start by telling you that amid advocacy for more funding in the nation's tertiary institutions, a group of renowned academics are of the view that tertiary education can no longer be free, as they advocate increase in education tax for companies from 2% to 3%. This was at a moment of reflection on governance, scholarship and entrepreneurship in Abuja.
Instead of enhancing the TED fund value that comes in from 2% to 3%. Areas like farming, for example, and then look at consultancy, how you are going to increase funding from consultants.
And the presence of the 3 hydroelectricity dam, they are big market for us. So in the area of technology, if we think out of box and come up with programs that people can come and do, it will go a long way in boosting the internal generated revenue.
Taking a look at the markets, Nigeria equities failed to sustain previous days' gain as investors lost more than 20 billion naira. At the end of today's trading session, a total of 97.6 million shares in 2,980 deals, corresponding to a market value of 847.8 million, were traded. Compared with previous trading day, today's data show 39% decline in volume, 70% in turnover, and 2% decline in deals. The current market capitalization is 24 trillion naira. Transcorp Nigeria recorded the highest volume traded, followed by Access Holdings, Sterling Bank, and Guarantee Trust Holding. That is business news. Network news continues.
Break. Stay with us. A beaten sports now with Austin Edemodu.
The federal government has mandated sports federations in Nigeria to institute marketing platforms that can sustain them financially through their grassroots and elite athletes development programs. Minister of Youth and Sports Development Sunday Dare disclosed this while sensitizing them on the newly adopted National Sports Industry Policy with emphasis on public-private partnership, which can end the era of full funding of federations by the ministry.
Every sport is now business, and then you are accountable through your board. You go out there, make a pitch for your sports, tell your sponsors this is what you stand to benefit. There's the government policy driving it.
Elsewhere, the main and local organizing committee of the first ever Abuja International Marathon have assured on delivering a world-class road race. They gave the commitment during the inauguration of both committees in Abuja by FCT Minister of State Ramatu Tijani Aliyu, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary, Federal Capital Territory Administration, Olushade Adeshola.
All hands must get up to ensure that we make a big success of this event.
Meanwhile, over 100 referees and assistant referees from the north central part of the country have undergone the quarterly FIFA fitness test for referees on Thursday in Abuja in preparation for the new season of the Nigerian League.
It is a compulsory thing that the latest amendment to the laws of the game must, since we are just starting our season, and this is the only time we can start applying those things.
I'm Austin
The death has occurred of Shettima Mustafa, a former Minister of Agriculture, Defense and Interior. He died in the early hours of Thursday at his Abuja residence at the age of 82 years.
Know that today is a very, very sad day for us. As we are saddened by his death following protracted illness, we are also hopeful because of the character he represented, the type of life he lived, the lives he has touched positively. We are hoping that as we are now sad, he is the happiest human being going to meet his Lord.
Dr. Shettima Mustafa was a very fine, accommodating, listening man. He was a community person. He could sacrifice his comforts to accommodate community interest. We will miss him a lot.
Shettima Mustafa's body has been conveyed to his hometown Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, for burial. He left behind his wife and 12 children. Meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari condoles with the family, friends, as well as the government and people of Borno state on the demise of Dr. Shettima Mustafa. The president celebrates late Shettima's outstanding attributes both in politics, governance and academia, noting that his records will remain indelible in national development. The late Shettima, the president observes, inspired many generations of Nigerians with his indomitable and insightful posture to develop strong belief in Nigeria's strength and capabilities, particularly in agriculture. Dr. Mustafa served as Minister of Agriculture and Natural Resources, and in 2007 was appointed Minister of Defense in the cabinet of President Umaru Yar'Adua. Later, he became Minister of Interior. That concludes Network News tonight. Just a quick reminder that the war against rape is still on. Stand with the NTA and be a star. I'm Cyril Stober. Good night.